everybody. We're back again with Ride with Rose. You know, we're going to follow up again on this Katt Williams story. Okay, we're going to take a little different direction today, and we're going to break it down to Katt Williams' body language. Because everybody wants to know, trying to figure out, is Katt lying, telling the truth, just a little exaggeration? What? Nobody knows. Only, you know, hey, Katt Williams and the people that are involved. So we're going to go analyze a couple clips and, determine for ourselves and what this analyst has to say about it. Let's jump into this real quick so I don't hold you guys hostage for it. Let's get into it like right now. Okay.
So, comedian Katt Williams was interviewed by Shannon Sharpe for the Club Shay Shay, and as of this recording, the 3-hour video had broken the 38 million views. And you might be asking the same question that I ask. Why? And the answer is pretty simple. He unleashed on the current state of Hollywood and entertainment in general, from famous comedians cheating their way to the top, all the way to how to make it in Hollywood. You absolutely need to sell your soul to the big fish. And regardless if you believe that Hollywood and the music industry are actually big cults that require sacrifices from the people wanting to make it to the big leagues, this video is about identifying the signals that tell you when someone is telling the truth and when you can take what they say with a grain of salt. There is one clip that is representative of the whole interview and is one of the most viral right now. Better yet, is the one that can help us identify these body language signals so you can reach your own conclusions. I will play the clip and then we'll tell you what the clip is about so you can watch it out of context first and you can absorb the body language raw in that first view.
That's why, you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
So, of all the interview, this is one of the most important topics. People selling their soul to Hollywood. You just had a glimpse of Williams' body language and your quick systems are already forming an idea about his credibility. But let's keep watching.
They all do the same job. Why do you think Gary Owen can't cross over and he already white and been in comedy for 25 years? If what I say ain't the case.
So Williams' main premise is that if you don't sell your soul to Hollywood, then you will never make it. And in the previous clip, he mentioned Gary Owen to prove his point that it is not about being black or white, since Owen is white, and it's not a lack of trying either, since Owen has nurtured a successful career over a quarter of a century. Williams implies that since Owen hasn't made it big, it's because he hasn't sealed the deal with the Hollywood Devils.
Yeah, we all know Gary Owens is funny as hell. You know, why hasn't he crossed over? Because he made a decision to not sell his soul? Now, he's got a story to tell about that. Somebody wanted to play a little bit of mattress practice. Let's hear what Gary has to say about that.
I did get hit on one time by a Hollywood exec, and I'm not going to say the name. Everybody's like, you got to name him. You're part of the problem. I go, no, you got to realize this dude didn't touch me. This dude didn't promise me any work if I didn't do anything. The motherfucker just hit on me. That's not illegal. You allowed to hit on motherfuckers. Everybody in here with the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, somebody hit on somebody. You didn't motherfucker just like arrange marriage. We're together. No. You motherfucker had to make a move. This motherfucker just made a move in his office. But he was very subtle how he did it. Because I'm in there talking to him, and I knew he was a little sweet already. You can tell when the motherfucker's sweet. So I'm sitting there, and he's asking all these questions, like, what is my goals? What do I want to do in this business? What do I see myself at? And I'm new to the game, kind of, I'm talking. And then out of left field, he goes, how much you make a year, Gary? How much you make a year? And keep in mind, I'm making a number up. I don't know what I told him, but it was something low. I was like $50,000 a year. He goes, psst. He goes, I can make you millions in a year. I was like, do it. And then the motherfucker's like, how hard you want to work? I said, I'm a hard worker. I work hard. And then he was like, you work hard? I went, wait a minute. Because when he said you work hard, he shifted in the chair. He was like, you work hard? I was like,
We all know the devil doesn't discriminate. It takes all comers. It doesn't matter what race, what creed, nor color. If you're willing to dance, it's got a song for you.
If what I say ain't the case. It's a cabal. It's a consortium. They rock with who they rock with, and they don't with who they don't.
Well, I forgot to tell you that when I say body language, I also meant that you had to pay attention to his voice, how he speaks, how he sounds. We're about to start the analysis right after the next clip, where I want you to pay attention to the interviewer's body language as well.
They have all the assets and resources, and we don't. But let us get on the line, boy, and see if that factors in. I guarantee you it won't. Wow.
So the first impression we have from his body language is one of confidence. But sometimes people are lying and they can speak in a confident way, right? How can we tell the difference? How can we know it's legit? Well, the first clue that I notice is William's posture. Throughout most, if not all, the interview, he was sitting on the edge of the seat, leaning forward or towards Sharp. That is a sign of both being interested and also being excited about what you are saying. When the talker sits this way, it's usually because they want to see the other's reaction. Not only that, but he's also thrusting his head forward. That reinforces the excited part. He's got very intense feelings about what he's saying, and he projects it with his head and neck. At the same time, he keeps his hands visible and planted over his legs. It's a very tense posture that bolsters his general attitude. In the first clip, after he referenced how the people who sell their souls to Hollywood act like it never happened, he makes a pause. That kind of pauses are a way to emphasize his point, the gravity of the situation. But how does that verbal pause is communicated by his body language? Well, in that exact pause, he had his chin up, which is a bit of arrogance and defiance, and he's sitting perfectly straight, still on the edge of the seat. This is a way of saying with your body language that you're being serious. He's not hunching or leaning back or trying to hide his face to one side. He's facing the interviewer head on, again, waiting for his reaction. Even so, when he was making this very important pause, his hands were in a different position. One was making a very slight touch of the other, or at least that's what it seems, because the angle of the camera can be a bit confusing. Either way, his left hand, which is our more emotional hand, is in a fist, which is a quick tell of how strong he feels about what's going on in the entertainment industry. But when we open the frame at that exact moment, we notice something else. But this time in Sharp's body language. He's protecting himself. In this case, a gesture of a hand between his legs and his notes covering his belly.
I don't know about you, but I'm finding this quite interesting. All the different gestures that we have when we're having a conversation. You know, I wish I would have known some of this long time ago. I might have been able to figure out a couple things, save me a whole bunch of BS in my life. But let's get back to this. And by the way, please put a like and a subscribe if you like the content so you can stay up and in tune with what we're doing at all times.
When you're analyzing body language, it's always important to take a look not only at the person you're analyzing, but also the reactions of those around them. And Sharp's posture signals that maybe he's feeling a bit uncomfortable. Notice how both men have their heads straight on, looking at each other as if it was a mirror, even if Williams is standing straight and Sharp is leaning back. Another signal of the intensity of the moment. So, do we have enough signals to determine that Williams means business? Maybe, but there are other factors to consider. Another characteristic of Williams' body language in this interview is the use of illustrator gestures with perfect timing. And what do I mean by this? Well, it's like in this case that he says, you know what the number one job of somebody, and when he says number one, he uses his hand to emphasize that statement, keeping his chin, his head up. So there's more defiance there. But the hand gesture with the perfect timing usually happens when someone is convinced of what they are saying. If the gesture happens 1 second before or after or out of sync with the word, that could mean that there's some confusion in the person's ideas. They have not fully made their minds about what they're saying, and they have a hard time keeping that verbal and nonverbal flow or sync. Now, obviously, context is one of the most important factors when reading body language. And it should be no surprise that a seasoned stand up comedian will have a lot of experience using their body language to communicate not with one, but with thousands at the same time. In fact, it's a requirement to dominate not only the timing of the jokes, your voice and your hands, and even facial expressions. How the punchline lands depends on all those. So that must be one of the reasons he uses so many illustrators or hand gestures that emphasize his speech. And with perfect timing, he knows how to be convincing just because of his job. But there's one body language clue that I always mention in my videos, and it's blinking. Blinking rate can tell us a lot about the emotional state of the person. A normal blinking rate is once every 5 or 6 seconds. Any more than that, the more people blink, the more we know there's some emotional struggle within. Could be excitement or nervousness or guilt or sadness or hidden contempt. You need to match it to the rest of the person's body language to know. But what do we see here? You can see for yourself that his blinking rate is not that high. Yeah, his body movements are intense and sharp, and he uses his head to emphasize. But the fact that his blinking rate is steady and let's say normal, it's because he's in control.
Damn, now we're dealing with blinking rate. Okay, I didn't know there was a such thing that they can detect something by how much you're blinking and how much you're not blinking. I mean, he's saying normal. Are we talking balance, normal, a couple French fries short of a Happy Meal? I mean, what do we mean by normal? Just a person stressed out or that he's completely lying? So let's see what he's got to say about this.
When people lie, two things can happen. Either they blink a lot or they almost don't blink at all. The first case is because they are nervous. Maybe they are making things up on the fly. And the second case is because they have rehearsed their lie beforehand and they don't blink so they can see if you are buying it. So keep that in mind. But it's not what is happening here. So to recap, Williams is defiant, very intense, emphasizing his words with his hand gestures, but at the same time, staying in control. Now, this one was interesting. Remember that he uses his body as a communication tool? Well, this is another great example. He's saying, let us get on the line, referring to let us, the ones who haven't sold our souls to Hollywood, measure against the ones who did. And he uses a football expression, and he assumes the position at a line of scrimmage. That's another insight on his personality and character. But then another question arises. Analyzing his body language and from his career, we know that he can be quite histrionic. Could he be using those histrionic tools in this case, exaggerating just to make more impact? Well, there's a clue to confirm that this topic affects him personally. You remember when I told you that Williams had his left hand on a fist and that was a subtle signal of his actual emotions? Well, when he was talking about not even Gary Owen making it big, even if he was wide, he did what is called a pacifying gesture with his left hand. Remember that everything that we do with our left hand has a bit of an emotional bias, regardless if you're left or right-handed. He uses this gesture to pacify himself, and it's yet another signal that he is genuinely affected by what he's saying. And this happens while he's addressing the topic. And the right hand is doing illustrator gestures, pointing with his thumb. So try it for yourself. Try to talk with someone using your right hand to emphasize what you're saying, but faking your left hand gesture at the same time. Good luck making it look natural. Also, the hand here finishes protecting his genitals as well. Deep inside, he still feels threatened by what he is saying. If you want to go deeper in Williams' body language, there are also signals both in his brows and his neck. We have been talking about all the intensity he projects with his body and his gestures. But what about up close? Well, not only that vein popping on his neck, it's part of that strong emotion, that's an easy one to spot, but also his brow expression. At this exact moment, he was, again, talking about how Hollywood really works. It's a blend between disgust and angst, but it also has a touch of sadness in there. Again, this interview was almost 3 hours long, and there are other moments when he's talking about specific people from the entertainment industry. It was especially fun when he said that Ludacris had made a multi-million pact with the Illuminati. His body language signals are pretty much the same in all those cases, but if you want me to take a closer look at other moments of this interview, just let me know.
Well, I hope this has been helpful to some of you out there working at figuring out what's really going on. Is Katt telling the truth? Is Katt lying? Or is just the brother just pure D crazy? Well, I'm going to erase a couple of them off the board for you and give you my opinion. One, I don't think he's crazy. Maybe eccentric, but definitely not crazy. Two, I don't believe he's lying. I definitely do believe he is telling the truth. You know, if you just go through the evidence, look at how everybody's responded or the lack of their responses or just the way that they have responded. Nobody's really taken him head on about most of this, you know. But it's an interesting piece of work. It's still growing, and it's still a hot topic, and everybody's still covering it and talking about it in one way or another. He did shake up the world with this and dropped a lot of bombs. But I want to thank you all for taking the time to tune in. Please stay tuned, subscribe, so you can stay in touch with everything that we're doing. And I just want to say personally, may you all have a marvelous and beautiful day. This is Rose from Ride with Rose. I personally would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to our episodes. Please support us by following us on all of our social media accounts: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. For the latest episodes, go to Podcaster, Spotify, Riverside FM, and YouTube. We look forward to sharing many more journeys together with you. And may you all have a marvelous day. #RWR.